What we do here is go back.
How's it going, everyone, and welcome to episode 83 of the Lost Media Podcast. Yes, it's my third and final special on broadcast intrusions, pieces of famous broadcast intrusions that have become lost and have not been able to be found since the broadcast intrusion took place. These are from all around the world, and today we're talking about one from the UK, a very famous event which happened, the Southern Television broadcast intrusion, otherwise known as Vrillon, the voice of the Galactic Star Command. This is very, very humorous, but also very interesting. In fact, this probably should be the most well-known and most famous broadcast intrusion. Unfortunately, Max Headroom wins because of how crazy and zany and over the top it was. This one was actually quite sweet in a way. It was just good vibes. It was only audio over the top of a news broadcast, and the Lost Media Wiki says it was a broadcast of a kids show, so there's a lot of confusion. Some people think it was over the news and some people think it was over a kids show. I'm very confused because there is an actual clip of the news broadcaster saying, "You may have been experiencing some broadcasting interference. Please do not be alarmed by this. We are working and trying to fix this." So maybe it was over the news. That was a really poor attempt at a British accent, by the way. I'm sorry, guys. People probably think I'm British by the sound of my voice. That's what a lot of Americans have commented over the years on my YouTube videos. Is this guy British? No, I'm Australian. The Southern Television broadcast intrusion, though, happened in rural England. I'm not sure where Southern Television broadcasted out of, but it was the Hannington transmitter. The Hannington transmitter, which was hijacked in 1977 by a voice that sounded very British, but was meant to be an alien voice. Now, I don't know this off by heart, what it said. It was actually 6 minutes long, this broadcast intrusion. It was very long. Just audio over the top of the broadcast, and apparently the picture just scrambled everywhere. What people don't realize about this one, of anyone who knows this, is that all the footage that's been presented in YouTube videos and any, mentioning of this on television since it happened, of people talking about the incident, is all just reconstructions. No one's ever pointed out, hey, this is a reconstruction of what originally happened, and this is us trying to re-edit what happened. The actual original broadcast of this happening is lost, and that's probably because it's in rural England in 1977, and recording software and recording devices weren't exactly common back then. You never know. Someone might have a recording of this out somewhere, but I'm almost 100% sure that the entire broadcast intrusion is lost. I am sure because it says it right here. But the audio isn't lost, interestingly enough. Southern Television, I guess, preserved that and released it to people, so you can listen to it. They've just put it over the top of other footage. Interestingly enough, though, the newscaster saying that it wasn't lost. Sorry, I just realized that in the shot, this looks terrible. This just looks absolutely horrendous, and it completely threw me off. I just look like the Michelin Man just then. The shot at the clip of the newscaster saying we're experiencing some interruption in our audio at the moment. That's the real thing, supposedly, from the broadcast. I don't know if the Lost Media Wiki is trying to say that another intrusion of the same vein is lost, but that can't be right because as far as I know, and as far as everyone knows, there's only one Vrillon intrusion that ever took place. So that's an interesting aspect of this. It's quite funny. I'd play you guys the full audio of it. I might as well just play the first 30-40 seconds of this. I know a little bit of it off by heart. I don't want to try and do it because it'd just be cringe and stupid, and I'm obviously going to get stuff wrong. All I know is he starts off with, "This is Vrillon, the voice of the Galactic Star Command, speaking to you. For many years now, we have observed your planet and you have seen us as just lights in the skies. We now come to you with a message of peace." And then there's some shit about your race going to the next stage of Aquarius. What's funny about this, which is, by the way, if you guys don't know, that's just part of the zodiac signs. of how each phase of humanity goes on to the next stage. What I found hilarious about this is obviously it's a British accent doing this. It's interesting that aliens, what a coincidence, guys. They've got a British accent. Who would have known? Interrupting a rural British television broadcast, they've got a British accent too. Oh my God, what are the chances? That is so funny. What a small world. What a small freaking universe. Space. Uh, so it's obviously bullshit. Obviously not an alien. It's obviously just a local British person. However, the only thing that is sus about it is the British accent. The actual broadcast intrusion is done so well, in my opinion. And the person who's done this, I think, has some voice acting experience in the industry. Dead set. I think they've done some television before because they're extremely well spoken, or radio at least. They've done radio for a while. The way they present it is very good. It is very well written, the script of their intrusion. And it leads people to believe, other than the British accent, was this actually aliens? People still believe, guys, that this was an alien. Like, this is legit. Like, aliens are actually tapping into our broadcast, and they just chose rural England, and they thought, you know what? With our superior intelligence, let's try and sound British to these people so they have some kind of warmth and association with what we're saying. That's what people believe about this. I don't know if there's a large amount of people. I don't think there's a huge cult consisting of Vrillon fans. I look more Michelin Man every second. But there are believers out there. So let's just cut to the damn chase. Let's play it. I've got to put it above the mic, otherwise it won't pick up for you guys. Here we go. This is just an intro. This wasn't part of, in case you're wondering, this wasn't part of the actual intrusion. This is just someone's YouTube intro to them playing the audio. Just get to the main thing, bro. We don't need your paragraph of context.
Nationalist leader Bishop Abel Muzorewa has accepted Mr. Smith's offer to negotiate an internal settlement based on one man, one vote. But, he says, there are conditions. These include stopping the execution of all captured prisoners of war.
Speaking to you. For many years you have seen us as lights in the skies. We speak to you now with peace and wisdom as we have done to your brothers and sisters all over this, your planet Earth. We come to warn you of the destiny of your race and your world so that you may communicate to your fellow beings the course you must take to avoid the disaster which threatens your world and the beings on other worlds around you. A short time to learn to live together in peace and goodwill. Small groups all over the planet are learning this and exist to pass on the light and the warning trains to you all. You are free to accept or reject their teachings, but only those who learn to live in peace will pass into the further realms of spiritual evolution. Be aware also that there are many false prophets and guides at present operating on your world. They will suck your energy from you, the energy you call money, and will put it to evil ends, giving you worthless loss in return.
You can't hear him very well a lot of the time, because they're actually trying to get the connection back. Southern Television, they're trying to wrestle it back, and it's distorting Vrillon's voice. It goes on for him to say that you should destroy all your weapons of destruction and submit to peace and happiness. It's a good message. I think it's a great message. What they're saying, there's nothing they're saying in it that's confronting or mean or ill-spirited or pointless. It's actually really, really, really nice. I think the point is to convince people that this is a legit alien. I love the fact to do with this that just completely skipped my mind that I'll get back to. But it is like I don't even know what to say about how the process of them coming up with doing this. Like they must have just realized they had the capability to overrun this station. They're like, we should do something clever. We should do something really cool. And they landed on doing something like this. And it's gone down to be one of the most famous broadcast intrusions. A very important thing that you guys have probably already guessed by the way I presented this podcast is these people were obviously never caught. Whoever did this intrusion was never caught, which adds to the theories that this is a legitimate alien. Because you never heard from this person ever. I just think they weren't sophisticated enough back in 1977 to catch who was responsible for this. That's why this person was never caught. It wasn't because they were an alien. It's just because 1977, you can't catch someone who does this. Amazingly, this is one of the very first examples in television history of a broadcast intrusion of something like this happening. There was the Playboy channel one, but I think that was even after this. That was in the 70s though. This is probably, some say it is the first account of any broadcast intrusion. That's why it's so unique, and that's why it just fuels the conspiracies of Alien. Credit to the person who did this though. They did everything right, except for the British accent, to convince that this could be an alien. But look, it's impressive. I'm genuinely impressed with how they were able to pull this off. It's oh god, it's very funny. It goes on like that for 6 whole minutes, and it's basically just more of the same. Them delivering a message of peace, and them announcing that their world has to learn and has to destroy all weapons. And the way it's going, on the trajectory it's going right now, it is destined for trouble. Because we speak to you because your world is in trouble. They're saying something along the lines of that. It's obviously not verbatim of what it said. I'd keep playing it, but it's mic spam at this point. There's too much interference of the station and the voiceover, and it's just a bit of a mess. If you want to listen to the whole thing, it's in the description. Very freaking fascinating that this went on for that long. It's one of the longest broadcast intrusions. There's one I really want to talk about on this channel. This is probably the last broadcast intrusion for now I'm doing in the Lost Media podcast, but there's one that it's just not very well known, but it is super interesting to me. In fact, to me, it's the most interesting broadcast intrusion ever. Not only because it happened in my country, but because there's very little information about it and no one knows. The problem with it is the lack of lost media associated. It's just more of the intrusion that's lost media. That's it. There's enough of it to get a context of what it was like. It's called the Mayday broadcast intrusion that happened in Australia in 2007, in January 2007. It is a very strange one. So, God, it's so hard to analyze this, because what is it? Like, what is it? All I can say is, for 1977, very impressive, very well done to intrude on this broadcast, and for the first of its kind, it's really unique. The lost media. Before I leave, I'm going to discuss the lost media aspect of this. You need someone who was very wealthy, who owned Betamax software. I don't think VHS even exists yet. VCRs. I think it was all Betamax. Who recorded this news report. Who was, just trying to record the evening news to watch later on, and they just randomly recorded this broadcast intrusion. It's never appeared since 1977. I'm almost sure this will never be released. The audio is enough for my eyes. In my opinion, the audio is fine. But the video, the actual broadcast is still lost. So yeah, it's quite humorous. It's quite funny. I'm just annoyed I forgot earlier in the podcast a very interesting aspect of this that I was going to mention. But alas, I can't do that now, because the podcast will just go on and on with me trying to remember this aspect. All I can say is very, very unique piece of lost media history. I hope it gets found, but I don't think it will. The one thing that really disturbed me about that broadcast was the newscaster talking about Kerry Packer at the beginning. That gave me the shivers. This is pre-Naughtiest Home Videos broadcast intrusion as well. So Kerry Packer is probably the only person in history to be mentioned in 2 broadcast intrusions, or to be involved in 2 technically. He's mentioned by the news broadcaster during the start of the Vrillon one, and he interrupted Australia's Naughtiest Home Videos as well and intruded on that show. So well done, Kerry Packer. Well done. He's dead now, but great effort, bro. Guys, please feel free to suggest whatever you want in the comments. Like I said, obviously I don't do everyone's suggestions anymore, not since the beginning of the podcast, but I do do suggestions that I do suggestions that are in relation to something that is a niche that people want to watch and are interested in. These 2 of these 3 broadcast intrusions are not as famous as the Max Headroom incident, I do realize. It was part of me just running out of topics almost and just wanting to talk about something really unique that's lost media. Amazingly, all 3 of them had lost media wiki pages and counted as lost media, which is very cool. But I really want to talk about some more topics coming up that are more famous shows. I want to go back to Blame It On... I wasn't going to do this, but I want to go back to the original Blame It On George's 40 lost kid shows and get a few of those topics in a list podcast to discuss that fall under the same category. That would be cool. That'd be really cool. Thanks for watching, guys. That was episode 83 of the Lost Media podcast. More to come soon. I did mention in the recent podcast that I'm going until episode 96 or 97, I believe. And then I will pause the podcast for a little while to reevaluate things, and it probably won't be for much longer than a week or a week and a bit. And then I will return because I've done 83 podcasts since April 10 and it is June 23rd. That's a lot. That is, I don't know what that's an average of. I think it's an average of 1.6 podcasts a day or something like that. Very fascinating. This has to end. I always just drag it on, don't I?